if you've been in any sort of personal development space or you've worked with a coach, you've
Yeah.
likely at some point heard of the answers are inside of you. And it
Mhm.
sometimes can feel like more of a bumper sticker than a way of moving through life.
Yeah. Mhm.
But it actually is true.
If you're finding value in what you're watching, consider hitting the subscribe button and turning on the bell notification. Oh, and don't forget to drop a comment. I love hearing your thoughts and ideas. By the way, we have got a ton of other videos waiting for you. And if you are ready to level up your mindset, come hang out with us in our private Facebook group called Mindset for Business Success. Welcome to Super Entrepreneurs Podcast. Today we have with us Luisa Fernanda Molano. I love that last name, Molano. I think there was a Hollywood actress too. They back in the 90s they used to come. Anyways, she is the founder of Herlocity. Pretty cool name. A global community that blends purpose with growth. So home to me, helping women not just succeed, but thrive as leaders. With over 15 years of experience working with high level companies, Luisa has a unique way of combining strategy with personal growth to help entrepreneurs build businesses that align with their values and bring them joy. She's also the co-author of an award-winning children's book, which is just another example of how she's empowering the next generation. So if you're ready to hear some fresh ideas, let's welcome Luisa. Thank you for coming on our show.
Thank you so much. That was the most incredible introduction. Thank you so much.
It's my honor. It's my honor because we started chatting and I sense your energy and I'm excited to speak to you. But other than that, I'm always happy to come in front of another human being because I know just how super and how special you are. So,
Thank you. Likewise, takes one to know one, friend.
yeah, thank you. Very cool name, Herlocity. And it actually paints a very clear picture, clear enough when someone hears that, knowing what you do by aligning purpose. And I know we touched upon purpose before we started recording. And I know your idea is around scaling, helping entrepreneurs scale with purpose, especially women entrepreneurs. They feel like they want to, stick to their values, but at the same time grow their business. Can you share with us how you help them connect or reconnect to that deeper sense of who they are? Because I believe, personally, I believe the purpose is directly linked to who you truly are. It's already there. It's just sitting there, just waiting for you to discover it. If you can calm the mind enough, you will start getting those pointers and those indicators for you to realize what that purpose is. But can you share what you do to help them reconnect with that deeper purpose while, like you mentioned, continuing that growth trajectory?
Yeah. I love that when you first started talking about it, you said connect or reconnect. And then 2 thoughts later, you said, because we actually know. And I want to pull on that thread because it's so
Please.
true. If you've been in any sort of personal development space or you've worked with a coach, you've
Yeah.
likely at some point heard of the answers are inside of you. And it
Mhm.
sometimes can feel like more of a bumper sticker than a way of moving through life.
Yeah. Mhm.
But it actually is true. It's like cheesy, but it is true. And the last almost decade of my life now, I have not just gone to the mat to pressure test that for myself again and again and again, but I've had the joy of doing that with my clients. And because of how impactful it was in the lives of my one-on-one clients, I said, I've got to take this work and bring it to more people, which is one of the reasons why I launched Herlocity, is a space and a place outside of social media and the algorithm and ads where women can come and play and explore what it's like to build a purposeful, profitable, stress-free business. And prove to themselves and to the world that, yeah, you can have your cake and eat it too. You can have purpose and profit. Two things can coexist. And in my work, I've seen that when you lead with purpose, you profit with joy. And there's an interplay that is more art than science. So you roll up your sleeves and you experiment. It's a practice and a way of moving through life that when you're committed to it, the ROI of that is not just outwardly great, which is nice, but inwardly, internally, so fulfilling. And I think that's the one thing I'd go back and tell myself in year one of business back in 2017 is trust yourself, stay close to your purpose, and know that it's chosen. It's not something go out there. If you were watching me, you'd see my hands are pushing out. It's not out there. It's in here.
Yeah. It's in the mirror.
It's in the mirror.
Man, I think we're going to be best friends. I don't know if you're
Let's
up
do
for
it.
it, but yeah. But this stuff is very special to me because I come from I use this term chaos. Anybody that knows me before my transformations, before 2020, they'll say, this guy's lying. What are you talking about? Chaos. He had no chaos. He was always fun to be around, blah, 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 all those things. But I was just masking it very well. And I just covered it up in a way that I didn't even know, if that makes sense. So it would pop up when things would happen on the outside. It would trigger. Could be somebody cut me off or someone came in front of it. We have Tim Hortons in Canada, so someone came in front of the line. I was always waiting for something to go wrong or something for me to get angry about or upset about or frustrated about. And when anybody said purpose, I was like, what are you talking about purpose? My purpose is to earn money so I could provide for people. That's my purpose. I don't know what the hell you talking about purpose. It was only when I started looking within, which was the most difficult part, by the way, to start that process. I interview a lot of people that hit it rock bottom and then they just went 100x bigger than they ever were. The realization is that their paradigm shifted in their subconscious for them to create the results they did. But something had to happen for them to realize that. But the beautiful part is, like you mentioned, the people that you work with, they can get this done anytime. They don't have to wait for something really bad or something major to happen for that shift to occur to the focus internally. You can do it at any time by working with people like yourself, is to start that process, to start looking. That difficult part, usually you need a mentor to help you, guide you, to start looking within, and you start doing it. Over time, the more you do it, the more you start falling in love with it. The more you start realizing, you start taking your power back, where you start realizing you don't need anything or anybody because you are everyone and everything. So it just is a deeper sense of belonging that you don't need to force to get to anywhere anymore because you're already there, and you start operating from that energy. It shifts the game altogether.
It does. It does. And I remember when I first started my journey, because if you're listening to the episode right now, Shahid and I are not breaking new ground with the word purpose. You hear it, 5 different people may have 5 different ways of defining it. And when you start talking about I am everything and you are me and I am you, that's not untrue, but it can then feel so abstract that we go, okay, but what is the next step I can take? I remember when I first started diving into it, all of a sudden it was this whole new world.
Overwhelming.
Yes. And I felt a bit paralyzed. And I remember thinking, there's got to be a simple way for me to navigate this 5D consciousness and this 3D consciousness with ease. And The simplest way, there's a capital Y and a lowercase y, is how I look at it. WY is, why am I running this business? Why am I doing what I'm doing? Why do I have this business? Why does it exist? Why do I want to be an entrepreneur? Why do I want to be a coach? Why do I want to be a speaker? Why do I want to be a consultant? Why do I want to be, insert your trade or chosen profession? And then sitting with that, less as something to answer, but more as something to marinate on, like an active form of play with that thought. And it surfaces because, like you said earlier, it's already inside of us. But we go and think that we need to excavate internally the way we analyze and process rationally in conversations and in business. And you think of market research and developing a product, or it's so logical, and it's not. The rules of the game in our inner world, my fingers are in air quotes, are different than they are here. So all you need to do, all I would do is just go, why am I doing this? Capital WY, and then lowercase WHY. Why am I doing this social post? Like in a very micro sense. Why?
Each micro action.
Yes. Why am I going to dinner with Shahid? Or why am I going to this networking event? Because we can get so caught up in the do-do. And that's
such a great point.
That subtle question, that gentle, that we don't even need to answer. Just the asking of it raises new awareness that creates almost a compass. And then we go, oh, I want to go to that networking event because I'm up to XYZ and I'd love to find one or two people who may be up to something similar and I can brainstorm or soundboard, or I'm looking to join a mastermind and I'm going to talk to 3 people and ask them what their favorite mastermind was. And so the thinking, the awareness starts to flow from there. Because I think what keeps people from stepping into and discovering their purpose more of the time, Shahid, is that we're terrified of asking a question without not knowing the answer right away. We want answers. We want to solve. We want a solution. We want to, especially as entrepreneurs, we're like, it's why we are what we are. We challenge status quo. We push back. We break barriers. We punch through paradigms. We don't make very good employees. Maybe that was just me. And we push the limit. And so to go, why do I want to launch that product? Or why am I an entrepreneur? We suddenly feel like we need to have an answer versus just marinating and then seeing what comes up.
Luisa said. The educated mind, the conscious mind, the analytical version, which we have completely invested most of our attention to read, remember, repeat. That structure is part of us, and we're always looking for answers. But when we're looking internally, is that it's almost impossible to try to figure out intellectually. It requires some time spent internally without that judgment, without that type of analytical view. And we're just internally finding that comfort, that completeness, and then facing the world from that place and the actions you take. And I really like what you said about the micro actions, because they're everything. Because people are so focused on, especially entrepreneurs, on their current results, is their energy is going on. For example, if they're at 10,000 a month mark, they want to go to 12,000 a month to pay for that additional vehicle, whatever the case may be. So that's all their focus. That's their energy. I got to do this. I got to make this happen. But I find that pressure we put on ourselves, it kind of moves that away from it, doesn't attract us closer to it. When we feel that completeness and that focus in the present moment, that action will complete fade, and that level of energy. And when we take that action, it could be very simple as when you pay for your gas. When you're paying for the gas and you're giving your card, are you sensing, and this is really, you got to be over time self-aware, but you could start doing this immediately. When you give that payment, are you sensing that money go to that person in front of you? Maybe, obviously there's a business owner behind all that, but he's still getting a salary. So you see that money going into that person's life. Do you see their kids eating that food? Are you part of that flow of that energy when you release that money? Or are you thinking that when you release that money, are you feeling that it's something you're losing and you have to replace? There's a lack. That's just one example. There's many other aspects of business that we get our own way energetically, unfortunately, by going inwards. The game changes because now it's not based on all the things that you have learned necessarily.
Yeah. You remind me, as you were talking about expressing gratitude with money, of the Japanese practice of arigato. And this act, have you heard of it? The act of anytime there's an exchange of money. The way I've worked with it is, I grew up very simple beginnings, humble beginnings, some might say. I was born to a single mother in a third world country. And at 2, she and I left Colombia because it was no longer safe for us to be there.
Yeah.
And I have so many memories of my mother growing up with, at 9, 10 o'clock at night, balancing her checkbook to the cents, and 10 cents. And it was like, that was a win because she wasn't in the red.
Yeah.
And I always grateful. I always had food in my tummy, and we always had a home. It was very simple. So my journey with why I share this with money is, there's a lot of work that I've done to have an abundance mindset and to see money as an energy that flows through people, not from people. And that there is a lot, and there is plenty to go around, despite if you flip on the news, what the news would have you believe, not because I can prove it, but because that's how I choose to show up to life at that frequency. And I've seen the ROI of showing up that way. And so I just, for example, paid for a brand new custom website, $13,000. And I realized that I was sitting on the payment, the actual cha-ching moment of hitting buy. And when I did, there was a little bit of nerves. It's $13,000
out of your comfort zone
for a website. And
it's illogical.
I'm like, oh, and there's all the buts that spin up, capital YABAT, right? Yeah, but this, yeah, but that, yeah, but it's like that you talked about this with Heather Inocencio in your last podcast episode, the listening to that inner chatter. And it was like, what if you get it wrong? What if you mess it up? What if the website doesn't look good? What if it doesn't give you the ROI you want? What if the strategy doesn't work? Da, 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 da. And I went, and I stopped the whole thing. And in that moment, I went, stop, breathe, choose. What do you choose? And I chose gratitude. I said, I am so grateful. This took 10 seconds, friends.
Yeah.
I am so grateful that I have the money to invest in my business. And yes, I can't prove that that the strategy and vision that I have will look exactly the way it's written in my business plan right now. But I have the money. I'm running the play. I get to do this. And 6 months from now, wherever the website is, the woman I will have become on this journey, that plus wherever I go, it's going to be amazing. I'm going to look back, I know, in June and be like,
100%.
It may have not gone exactly the way my brain said, but it always works out.
But
it always works out.
Most probably it won't work out exactly the way we want. And that's the beauty of it.
Right?
Yeah, it really does. We could be so precise with our plan. And unfortunately, we see a lot of entrepreneurs spend most of the time planning. And that's where the issue is as well, where we should be launching more often than planning. But anyways, so that what you're explaining there is, it's super important for especially people that are in business.
Yeah.
Like a
Dr.
regular
Ben,
person, it's important, but for business, it's a different perception altogether. And the perception is directly linked to what your belief system is in your subconscious mind. Like you mentioned, growing up, especially when it comes to money, is there's always a problem. And then to make that shift, you need to go on the subconscious level to make that shift, that your thoughts start popping up that are different. Oh, 13,000, that's something normal. And then in 6 months, maybe this website created, maybe didn't go exactly how you planned, but what if because of that energy that you put out there, someone that you really need to partner with to take you to that level sees that website,
yes.
and something in that website touched them subconsciously. Now they are in contact with you. What if that turns into something so big that had it completely dwarfed your, and this happens a lot, it completely dwarfs your beautifully designed plan, but because there's some other, I like to say how the puppet is the strings. It's like there's something that moves us in another direction, and is completely based on the level of frequency that we're emitting as a human being. Are we living in gratitude? Are we living in lack and anger, frustration? And based on that, we're moved in that direction, or moved in that, like tuning in to a specific channel.
100%. So
Yeah.
the best book of 2024, may I share with you, Shahid?
Yes,
My
please.
favorite book of 2024. I read, I
No
don't know,
pen.
maybe 15. So I don't have, it's not a ginormous number, but it's a good chunk of books.
Uh-huh.
Gap and Gain by Dr. Benjamin Hardy. The best book of 2024, and easily my top 7 books of all time.
Really?
Because,
And it's a new
yes,
release.
it is. It is remarkable how engaging of a writer he is, and how simply he unpacks this phenomenon that humans have of looking at the horizon and our aspirations and where we're trying to move toward. And we use that to beat the you know what out of ourselves today, which slows down the rate at which we travel towards our horizon, versus look how far I've come, versus last quarter I was doing this, and this quarter I'm doing this. Holy crap, there's some progress here compared to 6 months ago, compared to a year ago. So maybe I'm not at 350K in revenue. I'm at 250K in revenue. But last year I was at 150K. So that's meaningful. I'm not quite where I want to be, but I'm moving towards it, and I've come so far. And it, every time that I'm in that dynamic that you were describing, is there an opportunity for gratitude here? Or is there lack, scarcity, or abundance? Is it living in the gap and what's missing? Or am I living in the gain? Look how far I've come, what I've learned, what I've done, what I've accomplished. And that shift, man.
It's such a good way to say it.
That's my plug.
Yeah, no, it's such a good way. Man, it's so good. My daughter was playing the song. What song was it? Happy. Pharrell. I forgot his last name. It came many years ago. So that came on. I never noticed that song. And I loved that song when it came out. I was listening to it. It made me feel good. But I never knew what it was talking about. But a few days ago, it came on, and I was listening to what he's saying. There's no roof, and there's this, and they talk about abundance, and he's mixing all this stuff, and happiness is yours to be taken. And all those words that he was saying were completely touching me in my heart that never did before. Because logically, made me feel good to my soul when I was hearing it before, but there was just too noisy. It was just too much going on, the chaos that I didn't really understood. But now it was like, wow, I know exactly what Farrell's talking about. I know exactly what I'm talking. Like when I step, I sense that happiness to step. Like randomly, I'll just do a twist in the mall. Like I'll do, like people think I'm crazy, but the reason I do it is just I'm just so freaking happy, and it's not because of the outside. And that's what immediately people think is, oh, this outside is really good.
Yeah.
My inside is really good, man. That's what I've been gifted, and I'm going to take complete advantage of my gifts and utilize my higher mental faculties so I can control what penetrates my subconscious mind. I can control the outside influences, so I take my power back and I live the way I want to live and produce the results I want to produce, even though they might shift, but they will go in the direction where I vibrate. And I know I can keep that if I practice. And that's the beauty of it. I was just having a chat about a collaboration. He's a big time animator, 3D animator, and he does work for Hollywood studios and stuff like that too. So he creates animation, very custom cartoon storytelling. That's his skill. And I was telling him about mindset, and he's a big component of mindset. Almost anybody I speak to that has made it, they have some level of mindset, the reason why they got to where they are. But he was telling me that it's mindset is also a strategy if you really look at it. I was telling him his success is 95%, for example, mindset, 5% strategy. He was saying, let's just bring the 5% too, because even the mindset itself is a strategy in growth. There's a different way of thinking of it.
I was talking to a client the other day, and my one-on-one work is comprised of 3 dimensions. There's why, there's how, there's who. Why, purpose. We've talked about that. It's pretty clear probably how important purpose is and how much I value it as a way of building a business. And then there's how. Why is great, but in isolation, it's not enough. You need a strategy, you need the execution. That's where rubber meets the road in action, no matter how beautiful and inspiring your purpose is. And rubber meets the road in execution and having a strategy, bravely going, I'm going to market with this. This is it. This is my strategy for 2025. But then why and how, strategy and execution plus the purpose, that isn't enough. It's a holistic approach to business that includes the who. Who do I get to become along the way of executing the strategy and taking the actions and bringing my purpose to life? And so I was talking to her, and we were talking about this phenomenon of she was happy with her strategy, but she thought it needed to change. And she was like, it's good and it's been working, but I think we could make some tweaks. And I was listening, and something wasn't clicking. And then it clicked. And I said, are you unshakable in who you are as a leader? Not as an outcome, like no one wakes up and they're like, I'm unshakable every single day, 24/7, because unshakability is a moment-to-moment choice as a result of knowing who you are and committing to showing up as that. And when you're not that, going, okay, how do I get back to being that? What got in my way? What limiting belief? What idea? What did I allow to knock me off of what I call my center point? I said, how unshakable are you in your center point when you get in the seat of your business every day? She was like, there's good days and there's bad days. And we went down that trail and explored that. And what she came back to see is that the best strategy in the world will deliver subpar results without you recognizing and acknowledging that there's the human that's doing the executing. And why we know that's true is that if it were just about a strategy, we could pick up Richard Branson's biography, run the plays he runs because he puts it all out there, and then we'd become billionaires. But that's not how it works.
It's energy.
It's the who, it's the why, it's the how, and the blending of the 3
All of
business.
Yeah.
Day in.
It's so important what you said, but it's such a wonderful way to explain it, because without taking the action, without moving, without having a plan, without having a strategy, how are you going to achieve what you need to achieve? It's not going to just happen. And mind you, I've seen some incredible things just happen, but we just be honest. Like we have a kitchen to
There is
run
some
and
luck
everything.
along the way.
We need
There
to
is some
be
luck.
we need to be a driving force. We need to have action. But when I say that 95% mindset, 5% strategy, is that the strategy always makes itself available to the level of where you are energetically. So if you have the mindset at someone of success, for example, if you have a self image of someone that is already doing something great, regardless of the outcome, not specific outcome, I drive this car and all that. No, someone that you feel that is already there. And then you will find when you're at that frequency, when you're elevated at that level, you will see strategies show up that you've seen before but never acted on. And we call it the knowing doing gap. So you'll see these strategies, but because of that calmness of mind, you start noticing them because it's mindset. You start noticing them and you start seeing, okay, this is exactly what I needed for my business for the next step. Is mind-boggling how it happens. And I go through it all the time. And the people that we work with, we see it all the time, is their energy level makes the strategies make available. And then you take action on that because you believe, you have faith, and you take the chance. You do the work, what is necessary. And the work that you do is so inspired that it doesn't feel like work. It's effortless work, right? It's not something that I feel stressed like I used to be. It's like I wake up in the morning, look at my phone the first thing, and I would say, oh, all these things, oh my God, I would feel shitty. And now from that level of energy, you're just going for that same strategy you always knew. Everybody knows what to do. Like you said, that book about is all available, it's all pointed out, everything is designed for you, just follow it. But it's not that. It's not the conscious mind, it's the subconscious, the doing part of you that makes the results. But if the mindset, like you mentioned, it has to have that whole equation. If you're just going strategy, then like I used to be a left, right, center, shiny object syndrome, always doing things, but it didn't take me anywhere. But that alignment, when you bring the mindset, it becomes a foundation.
It passes the time. If
Yeah.
if you want the badge of honor that says busyness on it, it certainly passes the time.
But that was also my paradigm. My dad always told us growing up, he said that you have to be busy. You have to be outwork everyone. But he didn't know that there's this other aspect. And you'll see a lot of gurus online, all of them talking about hustle and all do this and all. And they're not talking about what is their energy level, what is in their paradigm, what is the belief system that they think that is possible for them for preaching that action. Because a lot of them don't know what they did because they shifted something in their subconscious mind. But what I like to do is when you go to the source and you make changes there, life and business becomes easier because, like you mentioned, that alignment takes place. It was great having you providing value to entrepreneurship is so needed. And obviously we can scream about this all day long, but the individual listening or seeing this, they have to realize that there's something that they have to make happen. And if it is, definitely get in touch with people that can help you do that.
And it's not even what I love about having Herlocity as a space to invite female entrepreneurs to explore this is that maybe you listening to this episode go, wait, I do have these elements of why, and I do value the strategy and the execution.
Yeah.
Like, I like KPIs, I like spreadsheets, I like data, but I know my soul doesn't live in a spreadsheet.
No.
And so Herlocity is a space where you can come and you can learn and grow with and alongside other like-minded women in business. We have strategists in the community aligned to social media, aligned to selling, aligned to human design, which when you step into it, it's not just, hey, here's a community, figure it out. We have a very intentional onboarding plan that supports all new members in the first 30 days to be set up for success. And then there's the community, joining events and participating and hearing what others say, their challenges, their struggles, their wins, often creates this sense of momentum and inspiration that gets us a little more connected to ourselves because we go, oh, I'm not in this alone. There are other women who want to take a more holistic approach to business or purpose, personal growth, strategy, and execution fit into the equation and work.
That's wonderful. I love it. Herlocity. It was great speaking to you today. It was great having you on the show, sharing your wisdom, your voice. I wish you all the best. The more success you experience, the more you can help others experience the success. And the only way to experience true success is helping other people get what they want. And that's what you're doing. And great for you.
Yeah.
Definitely keep in touch. And let's see how we could collaborate and help in a bigger way together.
100%. Thanks for the great
All right.
conversation.
Feeling in here.